All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in on the live stream and to everybody here in the House Call Auditorium. This is House Call VR Presents Dr. Michelle Sands. She's going to be joining us on stage momentarily. But for those watching in the live stream, I want y'all to know this is an interactive session. So if you have questions, go ahead and put those in the comment section now. We're going to ask those live on your behalf, and we're going to have Dr. Sands answer those questions for us. So if you're here in the auditorium, thank you so much for being here. If you're not, but you are in VR, join us. We're in Horizon Worlds and we are in the House Call VR Auditorium. We're going to go ahead and get started. So before we do, make sure that you're sharing the stream. Make sure you like and again, comment. We want your questions and, of course, your feedback. So make sure that you're giving us lots of reactions, show some love, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome and introduce Naviculara.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Raise your hands up and give me some confetti if you can hear me. Yay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight in Horizon Worlds. Thank you also, everybody who is here on watching on live stream. We're keeping an eye out. I know there's a little bit of a glitch. So if you are here and you are invisible, don't worry. We have we'll be making a couple announcements throughout that. So anyway, I wanted to tell you, thank you all for being here. If you can believe it, this is the fifth of the House Call VR series. House Call VR presents the first public medical lectures in the metaverse. So kudos to Dr. Sands for being the fifth in that list, and also to be our first naturopathic doctor to be here up on the House Call VR stage. I would also like to thank and introduce Metaverse Page. This event has been co-sponsored by the Women in Horizon Summit, which is going on at least all week. Every time I talk to Paige, there are more and more and more people who are part of this summit, and it is just absolutely amazing. So I would like to invite Metaverse Page to come up and just say a word or two before I have the honor to introduce Dr. Michelle. So Metaverse Page, would you like to come up here to the mic here? And please feel free to say something about what's going on with the Women's Summit.
Thank you so much, Naviculara. And thank you, Dr. Michelle Sands. It's just such an honor to be able to have this opportunity to welcome you to the Women's Summit. Not only is it the fifth presentation for House Call VR, it is also the fifth night of the Women's Summit. So we look forward to a special night. And thank you. We're centering women's healthcare tonight. And what an important topic and opportunity in the metaverse to have a healthier life. So thank you. Thank you, Naviculara, House Call VR, and our audience participating tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paige. Let's have some confetti. Yay. All right. Well, without further ado, I would like to welcome onto the stage Dr. Michelle Sands. Dr. Sands is a naturopathic doctor. She believes in taking the lab coat off and talking real to women and to people about health. And that is what is so incredibly amazing about having her here on our stage. She's going to do a talk, and there's going to be a live Q&A after. And then after the event, we're going to be debuting her space. So without further ado, Dr. Michelle.
There we go. All right, I was having trouble turning my microphone on, but we got it. There we go. All right. So nice to be here, you guys. Thank you so much, Paige and House Call VR, for putting on this opportunity for us to really expand our horizons and get more information out in the world about women's health. So my topic tonight, millennial pause. What the heck is that, right? Women's health has been a topic that has been largely ignored in modern medicine and all the way back to ancient Greek times. Women have been looked at as inferior, less than, not as important as men in the main world, and then also in medical terms. And so going way back to Aristotle, 3rd century BC, he defined women as inferior men with inverted reproductive organs. So that was what women were. Later, they realized the importance of women was that we can bear children. So we had this amazing ability to bear children. Unfortunately, that magical, wonderful, amazing ability that makes us so phenomenal was looked at as our only use. And so women were looked at as all they were important for was growing children in their bodies and then raising them. And they were still kind of like pushed to the side as far as their medical concerns. Hippocrates, who is the father of modern medicine, he actually, I've quoted him many times in naturopathic medicine because he's the one that says, let food be thy medicine. So we look to him as this really, really intelligent breakthrough thought leader in medicine. However, when it comes to women's health, he felt that when women reached the end of their reproductive years, that their uteruses would start to rot and erode, and this would make them hysterical. And that's where the term hysteria came from. Consequently, when women reach menopause and there's problems with their health, the surgery that we have is called a hysterectomy. And there's a very close relation between hysteria and hysterectomies in the medical literature. And so it used to be thought that women would go crazy once they reach the end of their reproductive years. And those thoughts have really gone on and on up until modern medicine now, but going back to the 40s. So in 1940 was when they actually stopped doing lobotomies on women. So the early 1900s, when women would be disobedient, when they'd speak up for themselves, when they would speak out, which in modern times now, like women need to speak up for themselves, right? We all feel like we have the right, we're equal as men. We should talk when we want to, we should stick up for how we feel. But back in the early 1900s, if a woman would say something that went against her husband or she'd speak up for herself, it was looked at as if she was out of control. And they would actually give her a choice between going into an insane asylum or getting a lobotomy. And a lobotomy, just in case you guys don't know, is where it's a surgical procedure where they stick a sharp object through your eyeball and they pierce your frontal lobe. Now, this does not normally kill you, although some people did die, but it really makes you very docile, childlike. So you're able to do your housework, you're able to take care of your children, but you're not argumentative anymore. And this was a procedure that was done often in women up until 1940 when they actually outlawed it. What happened after 1940? Well, the 50s and 60s, women were given antidepressants. Valium was a drug of choice, again, to keep them docile once they reached the age where they were no longer reproducing. And then now, in modern day, we give women antidepressants to kind of shut them up. And what the story I want to tell you is the story of my patient, Wendy. And she's a 34-year-old woman. She's at the top of her career. She works at a fashion magazine. She has 2 children, and she exercises, she eats well. But over the past 6 months, she's been noticing she's not sleeping well. She's been having a lot of fatigue. When she goes into the office to present her presentations in front of the conferences, she's forgetting what she wants to say, and she's feeling really frustrated with that. At home, she's noticed that she's snapping at her children, she's arguing with her husband. So, and she's gaining weight, even though she's still eating well and exercising. So she goes to her doctor and she explains, like, hey, I'm having all these issues. I'm not sleeping. I'm irritable. I'm gaining weight for no reason. I'm forgetting things and I just don't feel like myself anymore. And the go-to standard of care is to just give her antidepressants. So this is sending a message to this 34-year-old woman that there's something wrong with her, that she is now she needs to be medicated, when really hormones start declining in women as early as 25. And by age 30, we start our steady hormone decline. And for some women, by age 40, they're already hitting menopause. Now, when I say the word menopause, the thing that comes to most people's mind is going to be an old woman, like the Golden Girls, right? If you guys all know the Golden Girls TV show, that's what we think of when we think of menopause. Gray hair, a little kind of frumpy, a dowager's hump. And that is not what menopause is. That's just an old lady. Now, menopause is when we start to have hormone decline. And the actual definition of menopause is 12 months after a woman's last period. So when she's no longer ovulating for 12 months. But there's something called perimenopause. And that is the time before that 12 months. So that is 5 to 10 years before that 12 months. The average age of menopause is 51, which means that 10 years earlier than that, 41, is when perimenopause starts. So this is when you have all the symptoms. These are symptoms like weight gain, trouble sleeping. This is brain fog. This is sometimes hot flashes, irregular periods, low libido, anxiety, depression. All of these things are common signs of hormone decline. In women, first progesterone is going to start decreasing, and this can happen as early as the 30s. And then after that, estrogen will fluctuate. It'll go up and down, and it'll fluctuate kind of frantically, but it'll be on a gradual decline. And when these things happen, inflammation starts to go up, our ability to produce serotonin and dopamine, these are our neurotransmitters that make us feel good and enjoy life. Those decline, we can start to have gut problems, we have trouble putting on muscle, our metabolism changes. And this is a normal, natural decline of women. But the problem is that this normal, natural decline has been going on since the beginning of time. And it wasn't that long ago that our life expectancy as human beings was only into 50 or 60 years old. And so women would have menopause at the end of their life. Now our life expectancy is 81 is the average life expectancy for people in the US today. And that number is increasing. And if a woman starts perimenopause at age 40, and for some women even earlier, because that's the average, that means half or more than half of their life is spent in a state of hormone decline. And when they go to their doctors, they're not getting hormone tested. Their doctors aren't even thinking about hormones. And you might say, why is that? If every single woman, 100% of women, 50% of the population is going to experience these issues, why is it that their doctors aren't trained or aren't talking about it? Why are they not looking at hormones? Why are they not replacing hormones? Well, the truth is that there's a survey taken in 2019, and this included gynecologists who are, who we think of when we think of women's health, endocrinologists who are the doctors of the endocrine system, which is our hormone system, and regular GPs. And what they found is that less than 20% of these doctors were given any training on menopause or perimenopause in their medical career. And only 7% of them felt confident or comfortable to help women through the perimenopause and menopause transition. So I really want to bring to the forefront of people's ideas and people's minds that this is a real thing that women are going to experience. And when we were all teenagers, when we were 12, 13, we had the talk, the birds and the bees, what's going to happen to your body. There's no talk for women entering perimenopause. So these women in their 30s that are I'm going to call it millennial pause, because there's not a stigma around that. There's a stigma around menopause. It feels old. It feels embarrassing. Women don't want to think about the fact that they're in menopause because it feels like the end. And it's really not the end. It's totally the beginning, because we have so many things to help. We have hormone replacement therapy that's bioidentical that can actually restore hormones. If you lose your eyesight, you're going to go get glasses. If your thyroid stops working, you're going to get thyroid hormone. If your pancreas stops working, you're going to get insulin. But if our hormones, our ovaries, hold on, I took my microphone off. I was saying, if your ovaries stop working, why are you not getting your hormones replaced? It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem logical. There's other things you can do as well, lifestyle wise. You can totally, for women who are noticing their changes in their weight, for instance, and they're still eating the same that they always ate, they're still exercising the same they always exercise, but things are changing because of the fact that estrogen is necessary in women to build muscle. It acts on the myosin in our muscle cells to allow our muscles to contract. And without that, we can't build muscle. For men, it's testosterone. So, unfortunately, most of the studies done on supplements, on exercise routines, on diets, they're done on men. And women are excluded from a lot of these studies because we're very confusing and we have these hormones and it's just too difficult. And so, unfortunately, women don't get included in these studies. So, when you see a headline on the news about the keto diet or intermittent fasting or a certain type of exercise or a certain supplement, 90% of the time, those are done on men. And a lot of those studies don't apply to women. So for women, they really need to focus on their protein. So eating 1 gram of protein per day, or 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day can help them to maintain their muscle and their metabolism. They really need to focus on weight training as they age. So whereas you may have been able to maintain your weight as a 20-year-old doing cardio all day, we really need, as older women, as we reach our 30s and our 40s and our 50s and beyond, we need to focus on heavy weight training in order to maintain that muscle tone. That not only is going to help with our metabolism, but it also helps with our neurotransmitters. So it helps with mood, it helps with energy, and it just makes us feel and look so much better. And then we also need to focus on stress reduction. It's huge. Stress reduction, the way that we think about our bodies and the way that we think about aging can have a huge effect on how we feel. So, not looking at it as a stigma of getting older and looking at it as a new chapter in our life, a freedom that we have the freedom now to do whatever we want. We don't have to worry about getting pregnant. There's so many things that are positives about menopause and perimenopause and women's aging that we just need to be educated about our options, and we need to have the ability and the power to know that we can talk about these things, and that our doctors, if they're not helping us, there are other doctors out there that can, and that we need to just not have a stigma around this conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle Sands, everybody. That was so informative. There's a lot in there that I imagine if you want to go back and watch this live, you can watch the rest of the QA by joining us live on the stream. But we have some people here in the auditorium. If you have questions, step up to the microphone. We would love to be able to host this Q&A for people in the auditorium, but we also have people who are in the live stream that have questions. So if anybody in the auditorium wants to start us off, please feel free to step up to the microphone. It is live. And then we're going to have people continue their questions in the chat. So I'll start us off with the questions in the chat, and we'll let others feel free to step up if they have a little bit of courage and want to join us on the microphone. So for the first question in the chat, what are the telltale signs of menopause? How do you know that you're going through menopause or the early stages of menopause? And when you discover that, what's the best route from there with your doctor?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's not talked about enough. And a lot of women are totally taken by surprise and they don't realize that what they're experiencing is actually perimenopause or the beginning stages of menopause. So, again, perimenopause is a time around menopause, could be 5 to 10 years before you actually hit that one day. That is menopause, the anniversary date of 12 months without a period. So, how do you know if it's happening? What are some signs? Usually the first signs you're going to experience are going to be difficulty sleeping. This is because progesterone, which is our calming hormone, is the first hormone to decline. So when progesterone starts to drop, we start to have more difficulty falling asleep. We might have more anxiety, have a harder time being calm. And those are usually one of the first signs. Also, you might notice irregular periods. So your cycle might have come on the clock every 28 days, and now it's kind of getting 30, 35 days. Maybe it's getting a little bit longer. Maybe you have 2 periods in 1 month. That's another one of the first signs. And then the weight gain. That is probably one of the most distressing for women. because they're doing all the things that they've always done. They're still eating. They're not eating more. And then when they go to their doctor with their weight gain, the first thing they're told, eat less and exercise more. And it's really annoying because the research out there is all done on men, and men can just eat less and exercise more, but women have to eat differently and exercise differently. And so those are like some of the early stages. And how can you know if it's really perimenopause or if it's something else? Usually, if you're doing what you've always done and you're starting to notice the trouble sleeping, you're starting to notice the weight gain, maybe the brain fog is another one, feeling down or depressed for no reason, or even things that like used to excite you and you used to enjoy, now you're just like, I'd rather just sit on the couch and not go out with my friends. Those are kind of the signs that there's something going on with your hormones. You can test your hormones and see where they're at. It's not standard of care. One thing that is, again, the differences between men's healthcare and women's healthcare. If a man goes to his doctor with the symptoms of low testosterone, standard of care, what the doctors are told them to do is to test the testosterone levels, replace testosterone, and retest the man. If a woman goes into the doctor's office with all the symptoms of hormone decline, standard of care is to give her antidepressants, not to test her hormones, not even to have a conversation about hormones. So that really has to change. And that's one of the reasons why I do these talks, and one of the reasons why I do what I do in my practice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Paige, if you want to step up to the mic, we'll come back to the chat in a minute. We'll let some people in the live stream still ask some questions. So if you have questions, leave them in the chat.
Thank you so much. I wanted to start off the questions so hopefully empower you to feel brave to come down and do this too. Hey, Dr. Michelle, I am a proud menopausal woman. Woo! Ooh, breaking those stigmas, right? I never thought I would say that in a room of anyone but my mother. Um, so, um, when I was young, speaking of moms, when I was young, I think that I uh, think my mom's generation hormones might maybe there was some health risks with that. Are there any health risks with hormone replacement at all today, or am I mistaking that with something else? Wasn't there? I don't know. I've never investigated it because years ago I think there were risks, and maybe that's not true today. So I know that the medical field is always updating, and if one didn't have hormone replacement and sought supplements or diet changes, are things that are on the market like, oh, um, I forgot the name of it, estrovectin or other things like that, beneficial, or is a certain, what is your recommendation? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so those
I
are
eat
all
really
great
healthy,
topics.
organic, no
Awesome.
wheat, just like no, almost no dairy. But still my body, I cannot exercise anymore. Maybe if I had to eat better, then what's left to give up? Some chocolate? I don't know anymore. So I couldn't eat healthier, or but I could, I guess, exercise a little bit more. But boy, I do that like VR boxing all the time. So I think that I'm doing well.
Awesome. Those are all really good questions. So first I want to address the kind of the big elephant in the room. Are hormones dangerous? Are they bad for you? Do they give you cancer? And actually what you're referring to, Paige, is there was a study done in 2002. It was called the Women's Health Initiative Study. And the study was actually designed to prove finally, because when hormones were originally given out previously in 2002, it was known that they help to decrease heart disease, that they help women live longer, they help to get rid of the hot flashes and all of the symptoms of menopause. And they finally just wanted to get a retrospective study done, just showing that this is scientifically proven to help women. And so that was the idea behind the study. And at that time in 2002, the most commonly prescribed hormones were synthetic hormones, synthetic oral hormones. The estrogen was called Premarin, and it was made from pregnant mare's urine or pregnant horse's urine. It's a conjugated equine estrogen. Now, you guys can all probably know that women and horses are very different. Horses have 17 different estrogens. None of them are the same as the estrogens we have in our body. So that was just what was prescribed at the time, very common oral estrogen, Premarin. And then the progesterone that was prescribed, that was Provera, and that was a synthetic medroxyprogesterone acetate, also orally taken. So these are the two hormones that were prescribed. Now, women, it was believed at the time that women who no longer had a uterus, so if they had a hysterectomy, they only needed estrogen, because progesterone at the time was believed the only purpose of progesterone was to protect the uterus from the overgrowth of the endometrial lining. With estrogen builds up the lining and progesterone thins it out. So they thought, okay, women who have a uterus, they need to take progesterone to protect the uterus from having overgrowth. And the women who with no uteruses, they just need the Premarin. So there's two different arms of the study. There was the arm of the study that had the progesterone and the estrogen synthetic. And then there was the arm of the study with only the Premarin. And so after 4 years, they noticed that the women on the combined product, the synthetic progestin and the Premarin together, they were starting to have an increase in strokes, increase in cancer. And so they stopped the study. And all the media got the reports and reported everywhere across the globe, hormones cause cancer. Hormone therapy causes cancer. And women all over the world, like, it was very, very common to have hormone replacement before 2002. A woman would go to the doctor, she'd say she had symptoms. If she was around 45 to 55, she'd automatically get put on hormone replacement therapy. It's changed. After 2002, everyone was afraid. The company that made the synthetic estrogen and progesterone got sued. Doctors all over the world pulled women off of hormones. And then, since 2002, there's been a multitude of studies that reviewed that study. And the original Women's Health Initiative study, what it actually showed is that the women who were taking the Premarin, the pregnant mare's urine, oral estrogen, they actually had a decreased rate of cancer, a decreased rate of heart disease, and a decreased rate of all-cause mortality. It was the women taking the combined product, and turned out it was the medroxyprogesterone acetate that was the problem, that was causing all the problems. The body couldn't handle that medroxyprogesterone acetate. Now, no doctor that I know who is holistically minded would ever prescribe medroxyprogesterone acetate now, and we actually don't recommend oral estrogens either anymore. So now we use bioidentical, which means it's biologically identical to your body, and topical hormones, because they don't have to go through the liver, so they don't create clotting factors, and that doesn't lead to impaired blood flow and stroke and all of those things. So the risk factors are completely taken out when you're using bioidentical hormones and topically applied hormones. So, but since then, there's been many meta-analysis of that study just proving the safety of hormones. But the problem is, once you're told something, once something has made big news, it's really hard to say the opposite and people believe it then. So doctors from 2002 saw that study and got that directive. And even though 20, 40, 50, 100 studies have come out afterwards showing the truth that hormones actually, not only do they prevent all the normal menopausal symptoms that I talked about earlier, but women on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, they actually have less risk of heart disease, which is the #1 killer in women. They have less risk of breast cancer, and if they should get breast cancer, they have a better survival rate, and they actually have less chance of reoccurrence. And then also it protects them from osteoporosis, which if a woman breaks her hip or her arm, she has a 50% chance of dying within a year of that break. That's a statistic. So osteoporosis is a killer in women. So hormones prevent that. So I actually feel in my life, in my practice, that the risk is actually not using hormone replacement. However, there are lots of things you can do to help with symptom relief. So you don't get the benefit of the reduced heart disease, the benefit of the reduced osteoporosis, the benefit of the reduced cognitive decline or the reduced cancer. But if you're talking about hot flashes, body weight, mood, there's lots of supplements on the market that you can take, things that have phytoestrogens in them, like plant estrogens. There's black cohosh. There's omega-3 fatty acids can be super helpful, increasing your protein, exercising differently, Paige, not more, just differently, because you don't want to stress your body out. So it's not about more is not better, it's just different. And so I don't believe that every woman has to take hormones just because I'm a proponent of hormone replacement therapy, but I think that every woman should have the knowledge and the data so she can make that choice for herself.
Wow. First of all, Paige, amazing questions, and thank you so much for that. We do have some more questions in the chat, but we're going to keep it in the auditorium for now, and we'll go back to the chat. So there's still some time in the chat. If you got questions, drop them in the comments. We've got a little bit more time for Q&A, but we're going to go back to the auditorium to Nivikki.
Hi, so awesome talk. Thank you so much for being here today. I was hoping maybe you could explain a little bit about what it is that a naturopathic doctor is and what they do, what the training is, just for people who may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, so there's a naturopathic physician, which is what I am, and then there's also sometimes you might see someone called a naturopath. Those are two different things. So a naturopathic physician actually goes to medical school, and our first 2.5 years are exactly the same as a medical doctor, MD. The second 2 years, when the medical doctors are learning all the pharmacology, all about if you have this problem, we're going to give you this drug. If you have this problem, we're going to give you this drug. We're learning about root cause medicine. We're learning about the body function and what causes dysfunction. And in natural medicine, we're always not just looking at symptoms as something we need to cover up and put a band-aid on, but we're looking at why do you have that symptom? And we're looking to see what's causing that symptom. So we go back to systems. So like your digestive system, your immune system, your endocrine system, your detoxification system. And we're looking for dysfunctions in those systems so that we can support those dysfunctions and support the body in healing itself. Because your body is miraculous. It has this innate healing ability. And it's like a self. Whoops. All right. I unmuted myself. Your body is self-healing. And so we live in a very unnatural world. So, our physiology hasn't evolved that much since the caveman days, since we were sleeping under the stars and hunting for our food and sitting by the fire. But now we're in the air condition, we're working at a desk, we're not moving as much. We're eating artificial foods and things like that, and that has an effect on our physiology. So we have to really help our body from all the unnatural forces that we're giving it, help it to evolve and heal itself. So in naturopathic medicine, we're really looking to support the body in healing itself, and we're looking not just to pharmaceuticals. We're looking for Okay, sorry, I gotta stop clicking my thing. We're looking at herbs, we're looking at foods, we're looking at lifestyle, we're looking at the mind as medicine. So we're looking at using meditation and mindfulness and breathing exercises as ways of healing, not just drugs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it looks like we have Paxton Loves Cats at the microphone. You have a question?
Paxton. Oh, he just wanted
All
to give
right,
me
just
some
some
love.
confetti. That's how it works in here. If you got some love to show, you throw some confetti, some thumbs up. Phoenix VR, welcome.
Hello. So, at the risk of sharing something personal with the entire group, but this is all about sharing things that other people may not want to question because they don't want to ask the question. But um, so 6 years ago, I had full hysterectomy and was told that as long as I didn't have any, I was originally told I would go into full onslaught menopause after everything was done. Never had a problem, knock on wood. Never had a problem. Never had the hot flashes. The only thing is, I had weight gain throughout the years, but that's been a continuing thing, as well as mood. But no one has ever said anything to me about, possible hormone replacement, because it was like, if I wasn't having all those other symptoms, then it was good that I didn't have to go on a hormone replacement. But is that a question that I should have with my doctor?
Absolutely.
To talk to them about getting a level test done to see if some of this has to do with the hormones. And at what point are you not menopausal anymore? Is there a stop? I mean, is it, I don't know. Are you always
Yeah,
in
so
menopause after a certain age?
yeah, I mean, menopause is one day. So it's the 12-month anniversary of your last period. For you, with a surgical menopause, that's what we call it when you have a hysterectomy and your ovaries removed, you're immediately thrown into menopause. So that is usually more of a jolt for most women. God bless you for not having it. You're very, very lucky. That's awesome. Celebrate that. That's pretty good. Most women have like a rush of symptoms when that happens, but that's awesome. But at the same time, I really feel like every woman, as they enter menopause, whether they have a hot flash or not, should have that conversation with their doctor, because they are at higher risk for heart disease. When estrogen is a very anti-inflammatory hormone. So without estrogen, we start to develop damage to our arteries. We start to develop higher levels of cholesterol, and we just start to develop some DNA damage. And that can cause heart disease. It can create higher risk of osteoporosis because our bones are not able to build. Low estrogen is the number one reason for osteoporosis. So that puts you at higher risk there. Also, cognitive decline. Estrogen is necessary for our brain to use glucose for energy. Glucose is your brain's primary energy source. And so they've done brain scans of women premenopause, so when they're still have high levels of estrogen, to postmenopausal women. And there's amyloid plaques that form in the brains of the women who do not have estrogen. And if you get enough amyloid plaques, that can lead to dementia and Alzheimer's. Not to scare you, not trying to scare you. And then also your hypothalamus shrinks. So your hypothalamus is the part of our brain. Well, it controls your temperature. So that's why a lot of women have hot flashes. But the other thing it does is it gives us our sense of self, our sense of confidence, who we are. So when that shrinks, we kind of shrink in our personality. Some people. Now, you may just have like that big personality, and you may just have a lot of confidence that it may not affect you the same. Some women are gonna, you're like, no. I mean, I think you have a lot of confidence for coming up here and talking. So I really applaud you. It's awesome. But some women it's gonna affect more than other women, but 100% of women will have that higher risk of those age-related diseases. And so we can extend our life. The studies are women on hormone replacement for at least 5 to 7 years live 7 to 9 years longer than women who have never been on hormone replacement. So it's huge. The other thing that helps that's not hormone replacement is the more pregnancies you have. So if you've had a lot of children, you've had times in your life where you've had highly elevated hormones, and those highly elevated hormones give you like money in the bank per se for having a longer life as well. So yeah, so kids help you live longer. So thank you, Paxton, wherever you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for those questions, Phoenix. Appreciate you coming up to the microphone. So we do have a couple more from the chat. If anybody else has any more questions in the auditorium, now's the time. Come on up to the microphone and we'll get right on to the microphone questions next. But we do have in the chat a couple more questions. So you've been just sharing tons of great information. And I imagine a lot of people are going to watch this back over and over again to see what they missed. You mentioned a lot of treatments, hormone replacements, and many other ways that they can help with going through menopause. But the question was about the service provider, the doctor, the caregiver who they're currently with. If they're not treating them in an empathetic way, if it's just forcing the antidepressants or pushing hormone replacements because of the default, what is your recommendation to anyone out there who's going through menopause or worried about when they do get to menopause? How do they approach their doctors and make sure they're actually getting the right care?
That's such a good question. I always say your doctor, treat them like you're dating your doctor. Like when you're looking for someone to date, you really think about like, do I connect with this person? Are they listening to me? Is there chemistry here? And that's really how you should feel about your doctor. Some doctors are just showing up, they're just writing prescriptions and they're leaving. Other doctors really love their job and they like to talk to you and listen to you and make you feel heard. So you have the right to find a practitioner who will listen to you. Now, I'm partial because I'm a naturopathic physician, but we tend to spend a lot more time with our patients. We spend close to an hour an appointment, whereas your general GP, they're on the insurance clock, so they can spend 7 to 9 minutes with you. So you might want to think about talking to someone who's a hormone specialist in addition to a doctor. They're going to know more about hormones. They're going to have more knowledge of the different types of hormones, what's available to you, the other options holistically that you can do if you don't want to use hormones, or you only want to use a little bit of hormones, but then you also want to use lifestyle. So I would say more osteopathic physicians. So DO, those are called osteopathic physicians. Those are MDs, but they seem to be the most natural minded MDs. I would also, if you have a choice, go with a younger doctor because they usually have more current research. Unfortunately, doctors who graduated 10, 12 years ago, they can get their continuing education credits from Nabisco and from the drug companies. They don't really have to stay up on research. Doctors who graduated like in the last 5 years, at least they've studied the latest research. And more schools now, including Stanford University and Harvard, are starting to at least have a couple hours of menopause training in their curriculum. And I'm hoping that they're going to expand that more so more doctors are educated. But interview your doctor as you would someone you're going to date or someone who's going to watch your children, and really take your time and don't feel bad if it doesn't mesh. Like, go find somebody else. And there's lots of doctors online. We're virtual, so we work with people all around the world, but you can find someone who really cares and is knowledgeable.
Fantastic. That's such great information. And a perfect segue into our next question, but a little bit more in depth. Someone asked if there are natural treatments to deal with hot flashes and any of the recommendations that you've had today, whether it's for treatments or resources that are available, things that are easily accessible and easy to digest for people to just learn more. Can you share some of those? And if possible, after the stream, share some on your page. I'll have people follow you.
Of course, awesome. Yeah, so hot flashes, one of the biggest reasons for hot flashes we know is low estrogen, but another really huge reason for hot flashes is when estrogen drops, our cortisol tends to go up, our adrenal hormones, our stress hormone. So having high levels of stress or high levels of cortisol can make your hot flashes worse or even make them happen at all. And one of the wonderful things you can do, there's a group of herbs called adaptogens. So adaptogenic herbs, things like ashwagandha and rhodiola and holy basil. These are herbs that will look at your cortisol levels and they adapt. So they're modulators. And what they'll do is if you have high cortisol, they'll kind of block some of its action. But the beauty is if you have low cortisol, they'll help to recirculate that cortisol and make it help you more. So when your cortisol is too low, you're going to be super tired and dragging. But if your cortisol is too high, you're going to be anxious. So adaptogenic herbs, you can find them in teas, in tinctures, at the grocery store. Sometimes they're in vitamins. So those are super helpful. Also, there's triggers for hot flashes. So things like alcohol, sugar, caffeine, and spicy foods tend to cause hot flashes to flare. So you're going to have a flare. So if you avoid caffeine, alcohol, spicy foods, and caffeine, alcohol, spicy foods, yeah, and chocolate also. So, and like high sugar foods, those can cause hot flashes. So that's one thing you can do. So there's some research. Some people feel like black cohosh can be helpful. there's no like scientific data and it's kind of anecdotal. So you can try that. It may work, it may not. Omega-3 fatty acids in like salmon and tuna, eating that 3 times a week or supplementing with omega-3s have been clinically shown to reduce hot flashes. So that's another thing you can do. And then bioidentical hormones are natural. So you can start with just some progesterone. You can use a little estrogen. But if you don't want to do that at all, you can start with the lifestyle.
Awesome. And then, of course, those resources, you'll be able to share those on your page for us and maybe on the
Yes.
live stream.
Yes, and I
Fantastic.
actually have a blog on this topic at glownaturalwellness.com, but I'll put a link underneath the live stream for you guys to go there to get some more resources.
Fantastic. So we are about to go and check out your latest world, but first, one of the common themes of all of our guests that have provided amazing feedback and amazing information for all of us. Make sure you're still talking with your doctors. Make sure you consult your physician and find out what's best for you specifically. Even though there's lots of great recommendations up here, as you've heard, there's a wide variety of things that they might not all work for you. So make sure you're consulting your physician. And as Dr. Michelle Sands said, it's like interviewing or you're dating your doctor. You want to make sure you're a good fit. It's a good personality. It's a good amount of empathy coming your way. And you always want to make sure that if you don't feel like you're getting the best care, get a second opinion. Go out there and look for other doctors. So
yeah, I just want to kind of piggyback on that for a second. So you are the person that cares the most about your health. Your doctor is a facilitator. So I really recommend doing your research and going in with some idea of what you want for yourself, where you want your treatment to go. Some ideas like, are hormones right for me? Have you seen this study? Like, have the information that you can kind of like bring with you, write it down. And I actually recommend, if you're not someone who is very confident about like talking to a doctor, because they're authority figures. I remember I used to go to a doctor, I'd forget everything I wanted to say because they kind of intimidated a little. Bring a friend with you so they can keep you on track. And yeah, just they're the facilitators. They have the ability to order labs and order medications and to direct your care, but you really have to be the one who is in charge of your own healthcare. And in naturopathic medicine, that's what we put you in charge of your care, and we're your partner. So that's really what I think you should view it as. Your doctor is your partner, but you're in control.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for everybody on the live stream who's asked questions today and everybody in the auditorium who's asked questions. A reminder, make sure that you're following Dr. Michelle Sands. Make sure that you're asking questions. Continue the conversation in the chat on the live stream. And of course, like, share, and subscribe to the live stream as well. So, Dr. Michelle, we would love to know a little bit more about Glow Natural Wellness, and it's a perfect segue into your brand new world.
Yeah, so Glow Natural Wellness is our online education and empowerment platform. We do health coaching, we do lab testing, we do hormone replacement therapy, but we also just empower women to have the education they need to make the choices for their health. So we have a blog, we do a YouTube channel, but we have a wonderful world here where you can walk through, you can have some green juice, you can learn about some of the symptoms of hormone decline. And we're really excited to expand on this and have some games you can play to really make it more of a educational experience. So yes, we're so excited about this. So it's really, really exciting. I hope you join us over in our world for our debut.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. And we have many thanks in the chat that are saying, please, please thank Dr. Sands. This was great. So lots of love coming from the chat, lots of confetti in the auditorium for Dr. Sands. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to toss a portal up so that way that the stream can see the world. And I welcome everybody to join us into Dr. Michelle Sands' new world, Glow Natural Wellness. Don't leave just yet. You're going to get a sneak peek at this world. And if you're in VR and you're in Horizon Worlds, check out this world yourself. If you're not in VR yet, don't worry. You can still see it, like I said, on the live stream right now.
Anna. Thanks for asking your questions tonight. Oh, I think you're still on mute.
Thank you as well. I think it's
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. I recently became a person without a uterus, and nobody ever talks about that. So I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
well, I always say I just don't have
yeah,
the plumbing for it anymore. So
yeah, right.
all the plumbing's gone, but that's okay. It's
Well,
all right.
I didn't think that I felt differently, but perhaps I
No.
do. Maybe just a little thicker around the tummy, but
Oh my
otherwise,
gosh. Well,
you
and that
know,
that had been coming on for years before
but
that, but
maybe some
definitely.
of these things, I have more brittle nails.
Oh, I know that. Well, I've always had a regular heartbeat, so definitely have the weight gain, dry skin, dry eyes have gotten a lot worse.
Okay,
Um, belly fat, that's definitely. But yeah,
that's my thing that I deal with.
depression, fatigue, panic attacks, all of those things, anxiety, big time.
Oh, I have like my gums could look better, and I thought maybe it was hormone related. I mean, I
Mhm.
brushed them, but they still look stressed, right?
So just a heads
So,
up, we still have the live stream in here inside, so
Mhm.
just for another like 10 minutes in case y'all get too personal.
nope, yeah, nope.
God.
I'm purposely talking about it.
Yep,
I'm also
me too.
recording. Okay, great, yeah, because
Yeah.
we're intentionally talking about it.
Yep.
And realizing that we may have signs of hormone decline that we always just passed off as, oh, I ate those extra, like, Trader Joe's has these little mini ice cream cones, and now I don't eat them anymore because I thought I made my belly thicker. But
At
maybe
Glow
I
Natural
could
Wellness, we
enjoy
offer
some of those
accessible,
and
affordable, down to
deal
earth
with
women's
the
health
hormones.
solutions. We are 100% virtual
Yeah.
and serve the
No, I
entire
mean,
U.S.
I
as
haven't
well
changed
as
my
most English speaking
diet
countries.
in years.
We believe in empowering women to take control of their health, and we do this by educating them in an easy to understand way so
Yeah,
they
I
can
don't want to
make
do
their
that
own
when
decisions
I
about their health.
pre-workout.
We provide the tools and education. We
Well, I
understand that
don't
women are
nearly
not
as much as I
simply little
should.
men,
I
and women need customized
I
solutions
trained
for their
really hard
unique
to
biochemistry.
get my high brown in Taekwondo, and then I just like had to take a break because I was like pretty intense. Um, but it was interesting that she talked about weight training as being cardio, because I always
Right.
thought it was cardio, but it
I've
makes
been doing
sense.
more
Like,
cardio than I don't know if there's any weight training in VR. That's the only place
no,
I work
probably
out.
not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Would you like to try on the glow?
Oh, thank you. Oh,
Try on the
hey,
glow.
I'm glowing with good
There it
health.
is.
Nice.
Looks so good. It matches you
Nice.
Thank
perfectly.
you.
Yeah,
Lower
it
your
does.
face
It
okay
matches
when you
you.
get a second.
I would like a glow selfie. Come and join. Come and join me.
Somebody else has
Me
the
and the glow. That we can share some glow.
Hey,
live
oh, am
stream
I
is still
tall?
going, showing off the world, listening to the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
we were actually
did
realizing that we both share some hormone decline symptoms.
oh, me too, me too.
Yeah.
Up, yeah. Oh, awesome, awesome. Did you guys get a chance to take a look?
Right around the corner there are these buttons that
Oh,
that have the different aspects of hormone decline, and I recognized some that I fit some
yeah.
of those on the list. Yes, and Phoenix and I shared it together because we had some similar hormone decline issues. Thank you so
Mind if I
much, Dr. Michelle Sands. Thank you
Oh,
so
you're
much.
Thank
welcome.
you.
So
Sorry.
nice. Thank you for
Yeah.
asking questions too. That was great.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really enjoying. Oh, pardon us, Paxton. We're really enjoying hearing you talk and talking together and connecting over hormone depletions.
Yeah, you know, it's so
So,
funny
thank
because
you.
there's just not enough people talking about it, and I think that like so many women are just feeling alone, and they go to their doctor, they're not getting that much information, and it's kind of it's like not like you're just gonna sit like at a coffee shop and talk about vaginal dryness, just like
Right, right.
Never.
I mean, I do, but
Never.
You're muted, by the way.
That's
so I
hilarious.
think it's
Thank
like
you
You're
so
getting more
much for
women talking
hosting
about
the
it, like your
the live
summit is
stream. I really
amazing.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I think, thank you so much for
I had a
coming.
hysterectomy right
Absolutely.
before
I'm gonna close the live stream
right
out
as
now
the
since
I think
pandemic
so.
I
started.
gave the
Yeah.
tour of the whole place.
Like as it,
Thank
as
you.
So thank you all so much. Oh,
Yay.
I had
there's
fibroids
drinks
and I
available
had
here
a,
at the
hysterectomy, and
we've got
I
drinks
didn't know.
readily available if you want to stop by Glow Natural Wellness. This is our world here in the metaverse in Horizon Worlds. This is by House Call VR and of course
Oh
Dr.
yeah, you
Michelle
couldn't
Sands.
even
So
get
thank you
into
all
the
so much
offices.
for
That's
joining us
awesome.
on the stream.
Wow.
We're so grateful that you were able to join us. Next time, join us in VR if you've got an Oculus headset, whether you're on Quest 2 or Quest Pro. And then maybe you can join one of our next lectures in House Call VR Auditorium. So I'm Oculus 410, Naviculara from House Call VR, and our special guest, Dr. Michelle Sands, saying thank you so much for watching. Come back next
Yeah,
time.
the
Like,
COVID-15
keep the
or whatever.
conversation going in the comments. And don't forget to share. Have a great night, everybody.
I have a little bit of whiskers on my chin, and that's different. And I have
Yeah.
I have less of a waist now, and